Hi everyone and welcome, my name is Dora and this is my finale to Pan That Palette 2025 and BYOP, Build Your Own Palette. I'm so excited because I finished a palette for the first time in my life. I managed to finish every last little bit in here. So this was the Barry M Black Cherry palette, and yeah, in 2 decades of wearing makeup, it's the first time I finished an eyeshadow palette. Of course, a 9-pan palette, not an 18-pan palette, which is probably what I've got mostly in my collection. I still want to give myself credit though, of course, for finishing a palette within a year. And yeah, I managed to finish it on the 19th of December, so with 12 days spare. I'm gonna quickly show you what this palette looked like at my last update. And here it is today, all done. So I had 3 shadows left, and the first shadow I finished was Poison. So it took me only 4 more uses to get that done. It was a total of 121 uses on this shadow, so yeah, I really didn't have a lot to go there. Then I finished Juiced. 10 more uses I needed for this one. I did multitask this shadow a little bit here and there, but really not that often. It was mainly on my lids, and because it's matte, and most matte shadows do that for me. I've got very oily eyelids. I need to prime them as well so that nothing creases. I need to go in generally with a matte, and this one here too, 3 times, so that I've got like a smooth area that I can work with and then put other shadows on top. So I've been wearing this hot pink look a lot of times. I put my Essence Welcome to Miami, a pink shimmer on top of it to really just make it bright and stand out more. Then I would calm it down with a inner corner highlight type of, with a golden shimmer from my BYOP, which you'll see in a moment. I would put that on top. Sometimes the pink Kiko, again, from my BYOP. I would just sort of play around with it. I think I did a couple of purple looks as well, with like adding a blue on top or a purple. But I could be making that up because I'm also panning a hot pink matte in my Pan That palette in order, which I'm still doing, by the way. And I know I just haven't updated it, but this had priority over everything. And then finally, Wild. Well, it wasn't really wild. It was a franken shadow, Poison and Bitter, and a black shimmery shadow from my Urban Decay Prince palette, all franken together. I didn't have a ton of product in there. I didn't want to franken too much because that's the danger, you're just making it even harder for yourself by adding more shadow into the palette. But it took me 25 more uses to get it done, and that was a total of 64 uses to finish the franken shadow. Wild, that was there already, only took me 59 uses. There was more of it. The franken was an outer corner type of shadow, whereas the original was a bronzy shadow that I could wear all over the lids. In the end, I re-frankened Wild as well, just to make it lighter, brighter, more like a lid shade, but adding gold shimmers into it. And I feel like that worked well for me because I can wear a brown shimmer every day, and it was fun to play with the outer corner and the crease and lower lash line a little bit in terms of adding variety to that. But yeah, 25 uses, and I should add that after 13 uses I re-frankened it, so 12 more uses since re-frankening it for a second time. I'm gonna quickly go over my BYOP now, and then I'll give you a little more stats on here and thoughts as well of what's been helping me this year to stick with this palette. So here's my Build Your Own palette, and I've had a selection of shadows in here, and this is what it looks like now. I have got some empties, and these are decluttered shadows. I'll talk you through all of that. I didn't show you my BYOP at the last update because it was just sort of a bit confusing. I hadn't really put it back together yet because I did a big single eyeshadow declutter, repress, franken, destroying some shadows, that kind of thing. I've got a video, I'm gonna link it for you. And yeah, I put it back together so that I can show you what's been going on here. I'm gonna start off with these larger pans because they've been in here since the intro. And this is my Franken Sizzly and Bare Minerals bronzer. And I've got 9 uses on here. And then the Kiko Depotted single eyeshadow, I've got 7 uses on here. I am bringing them into my BYOP for next year. I've already filmed my intro for my Pan palette and my BYOP. But I think I might repress them now. I mean, even though there's still a lot of product here, I still think it's not really appealing to me. I've worked on this specific pan for over a year now. Yeah, I think it's time, and similar with this one, I might repress it as well, just to give it some newness, yeah. But okay, that's the status on these ones, and you would have been seeing weight differences already. Over here I've got 2 Natasha Denona singles. Well, they're actually from the Ayana palette, but that packaging broke, I depotted it. Both of these broke on me on separate occasions. This one just fell out, Glam Green. I repressed it, hit huge pan in it. I have used this shadow once since my last, well, 2 updates ago when I last updated you on this palette. This top one, that was my fault. I dropped this palette, but this was the only shadow that shattered. Everything else stayed together. And I managed to repress it, which you're seeing in that video that I just mentioned and that I've linked down below for you. So I haven't even used it, not a single time. I like it though. These 2 shadows, this one, as well as the pink one here with the pan, they're from the Revolution Chilled palette and they've been depotted. So this was a matte teal color. I ended up decluttering this one because it stained heavily and I got rid of it, again, in that video. This one is called Mist and I've got it all over my lids today. Really enjoy it. I'm loving this shadow. Yeah, I'm glad I held on to it. I'm hoping to work a little bit more on it next year, to be honest. These 2 are from the Kombucha Kiss palette. This was my Pan That palette of 23 and 24, which I didn't manage to finish. This one was a Franken, so is this one. This one is a Franken from within the palette. This one includes other stuff as well. I did not touch the brown shimmer, and this one I'm using in my brows. Not today though, but I've done 11 uses on here. As for this one, so this is Calm from the Chilled palette by Revolution. I hit pan on this after 17 more uses since I last showed it to you. And I've got a total of 21 uses on here. This is the shadow that I used a lot on top of Juiced, on top of the pink matte shadow. Really like it. It's got such a nice gold shimmer on here. It worked really well with that pink, so I think I'm definitely going to repeat that with the, or any other pinks that I'm working on. This is Revolution Jewel Glow, a shadow in there. They don't have names. I used this 3 times in the crease. With this row here, lately I've been putting 5 shadows from my single collection into this palette in order to test them out and then decide do I want to keep them or declutter them. And you can see that, yeah, I did end up decluttering one of them. I tried all of them out before I did that though, but these 4 I've decided to keep. And this one is now an empty space where I can do some more frankening, so that's still to come, and I think I will film it. With this bottom row, these are Loves, so these are shadows that I would have tried out previously in my BYOP and decided that I really, really like them. And yeah, oh, I should say 1 use on each of them from this row here. And on the bottom, I used this one once, and this one once. And I'm really, you know, happy to see so many pans here because when I started, I only really had a little bit of pan showing in this Franken bronzer here. And nothing in this one. I mean, the original one, yes, had pan, but then I repressed it. But everything else, okay, Glam Green also had pan before. But in terms of my round, regular shaped singles, nothing had pan. So I managed to hit 3 quite considerably sized pans in this project. And I'm really happy about that. And that was not even a goal. So just enjoying BYOP. And because now I've got that palette that is really inviting me to want to use my singles and to mix and match. Plus I've got depotted Natasha Denona shadows. I've got Glaminatrix shadows that I can use as well because they're magnetic. I could use my other Natasha Denona shadows too, to be honest. But you know, I feel like I've got a lot of variety, and it feels exciting to me to put a BYOP together and to use it in order to help me to pan whichever palette I've chosen to work on for that specific year. So yeah, I love this project, and it's definitely coming back as well. And I'm gonna probably have it within Pan That Palette just because it makes more sense. I still promised you some more stats on this palette. So I thought it was interesting to calculate that it took me 105.7 uses on average to finish up a shadow. And that includes the extra franken that I put into Wild. My most used shadow was Glacé, 234, and Ripen, 42, right on the other end of the spectrum. So, okay, let's go through the numbers. 42, 234 in order to finish it up. 96, but then I frankened the rest of it. So, with Bakewell, which took me 142 uses. So between them, I've got an average of 119 uses because, yeah, you know, didn't finish it up organically, but I had to mix it with the other one. You get it. Sour took me 92 uses to finish, but do bear in mind I did end up adding a little bit of shadow in here to turn it from a purple shimmer into a brown shimmer. Yeah, I don't think that was necessary, but I just wanted to at the time. Wild, the original took me 59 uses, and then the second time when I frankened something into this pan, 64 uses. Juiced took me exactly 100 uses. Bitter was 107 uses, and then Poison 121, but again, I put some of these into the second Wild. In terms of the weight difference as well, because that was something where, you know, we all weren't sure how much was in these shadows. The palette said 1.5 grams per shadow, which would make this a 13.5 gram shadow palette. But somewhere else they were advertised as 1 gram, so that would have made it a 9 gram palette. In total though, and yes, you're seeing the intro picture now, so this palette did have some use on here already. I finished 11.75 grams. That's the weight difference now that it's empty, including my gross little sticker here on the back. So now at the finale, this empty palette weighs 82.62 grams. In the intro, it weighed 94.37 grams. So like I said, 11.75 is the weight difference, and regardless of what's been going on in terms of frankening, that doesn't make a difference because it's all gone and out again now. So that's truly how much shadow was in there, 11.75, which makes me think that maybe they were right with their 13.5. Maybe a bit less than that, who knows, but definitely more than 1 gram per shadow. I'm gonna give you some of my thoughts now, and then at the end, I will show you the complete slideshow from beginning to the end of the year of this palette for the last time. So this was my 3rd year of doing Pan That Palette, but the first time I've successfully panned a palette. I think what helped was that I picked something that I could realistically see myself working on throughout an entire year, and I picked something that I thought I was going to be able to finish in September or October. So I think a lot of the times, that's certainly the case for me, and I'm sure you might be able to relate to it as well. We often tend to overestimate how much we're able to pan. So I think the fact that I picked a 9-pan palette where I confidently thought I was able to finish it before December, that was helpful because then actually I was able to push that unofficial deadline back and still made it within 2025. Had I picked, say, a 12-pan palette or something a bit more like, oh, maybe I can do it, but yeah, we'll see, I'm gonna try and push myself, I would have really struggled, and I don't think I would have been done with it by now. I think also in comparison to the Kombucha Kiss by Revolution, which I was panning the previous years, this was easier for me to pan on a daily basis because it had more neutral shadows in here. It was a much more neutral color story despite pops of pink, purple, mauve, but I like those colors. They're like fun comfort colors for me, so I don't mind. Yeah, it felt like not a difficult task. I was more struggling with the bronzy shadow, for example. I did end up frankening a lot of neutrals just to make it work and to help me. And I did the frankening both within the palette in terms of putting shadows together that were already in here, but also to bring in a little bit of external shadow too, and I think it worked out. Maybe that's why it took me longer, but I feel like that also really helped me with my motivation so that I could stay focused and continue to use this palette every single day. And I think I need to just point that out. I did use this palette every single day. Yes, maybe there were a couple of days where I didn't do an eye look, but then I would make up for it the following day. I know that whenever I did do 2 eye looks, not only to make up for missed opportunities of wearing makeup, but also just because I enjoy it, and then also if I'm putting on makeup early in the day, I do like to wash it off and then put a fresh face on in the late afternoon, evening, that kind of thing. So I got into that habit, and not every time I did a second look I would have used barium twice that day, but often I did do that. So you know, definitely more than 365 applications in total. I would also ensure that if I wasn't doing a look with this palette, that I would still find a way of putting at least one shadow into that look somehow. And that's again maybe why the neutrals worked better for that, and frankening more neutrals kind of helped with that. There was a little bit of multitasking, but really not that much. Maybe I used Glacé, the highlighter shadow, as a highlighter a couple of times, but if so, that would have been a long time ago, like really more towards the beginning of the year, and I don't really think I did that. Maybe I tried it out a couple of times. Juiced, I did use on my cheeks maybe a total of 20 times, if that, to be honest. So mainly I used all of these shadows, say 99% of them I used on my lids. I had the most uses in August, which I thought was really interesting, update 8, but maybe that was also because there was the biggest time span in between updates. I'm not sure, but I thought that was interesting because normally I'm like, oh, summer, I don't want to wear too much eye makeup, but yeah, I did still do a lot of eye makeup. And that also sometimes meant doing not necessarily an eye look throughout the day, but then putting on an eye look in the evening when it's cooled down a little bit. Talking about putting on makeup every single day and sometimes doing more than one look in a day, I still feel proud of myself for not always having to leave the house with something on my face. So despite panning this palette with such dedication, there was still a lot of days where I stepped out of the house without any makeup on whatsoever, and also very often just very, you know, it's sort of like a no makeup look, but still those days where I didn't wear anything, that was kind of new to me again. I mean, I did go through a phase in my, I want to say in my late 20s probably, where I wore no makeup whatsoever, and that was really interesting to me, and I needed that in order to learn to appreciate myself. So I thought that was kind of cool, yeah, anyway. Yes, it was a challenge, but it didn't feel like a chore. I think that's the right word for it. Definitely felt like a challenge, but not like something that was weighing heavy on my shoulders. I was very excited about using this palette all the time, staring at it every day, just, you know, comparing pictures, looking at the progress that I made, and that was really the main motivator for me, and just really wanting to finish it. And also watching other people pan palettes really helped me as well, whereas this year it's been wanting to finish a palette completely, and my next year's motivation is different. And I already filmed my intro, like I said, and I'm very excited to share that with you. I think it might be my first video of the new year, so yeah. I might just leave it here. I just want to thank you all so very much for supporting me. I'm filming this on Christmas Eve, by the way, so I want to wish you a really happy Christmas and all the very best for 2026 as well. 25 has been a really exciting year for me, also on YouTube as well. I mean, this time last year I didn't even have 1,000 subscribers yet, so just really want to thank you all so much for being here and for supporting me. It really helps, especially when there's times when you're not feeling it really, but it just, yeah, it's just such a lovely community. So I wish you all the very best, and I hope you have a lovely Christmas and rest of your day or night wherever you are, and I'm sending you so much love. Take care.